In the journey of human life, each of us is placed within an infinite network of connections, where family and friendships become the anchors that steady us amidst the turbulent waves of existence. Family is where we are born, grow, and discover our first lessons in love. Friends are companions who share our joys and sorrows. These relationships, in their sacred forms, are often regarded as priceless treasures. Yet, how many of us have paused to ask, are all these connections truly healthy and nourishing for the soul? The Buddha taught, all attachments are the root of suffering. This teaching does not dismiss the value of family or friendship but serves as a reminder that sometimes, what seems most precious can also become chains binding us, pulling us away from the path of enlightenment. In the impermanence of life, not all relationships are destined to endure. At times, letting go is not only an act of self-liberation but also an expression of compassion, granting others the space to confront themselves and embrace the opportunity for change. The journey of letting go is not an easy one. It demands courage, compassion, and clarity. When faced with relationships that cause pain, do we dare to step beyond the fears of loneliness, judgment, and heartache to reclaim our peace? Or do we continue to hold on, driven by obligations and guilt? The answer lies within each heart, where reason and emotion often wrestle for dominance. Allow me to share with you the signs and lessons drawn from relationships that are no longer harmonious. Through the lens of Buddhist teachings, we do not seek to destroy but to transform. Not to reject love, but to rediscover balance. Not to deny what once was, but to learn to cherish what is truly worthy. Each act of letting go is an act of love, and each step away is a step closer to inner liberation. In each human life, family and friends are the foundational stones that build the ego. From the time we are children, we learn how to love, share, empathize, and sacrifice through the closest relationships. Parents are the first to teach us lessons of kindness and unconditional love. Friends are the ones who help us understand the world outside, where personal values are tested and strengthened. Yet, life is not always one of complete harmony. There are relationships that, though they seem like peaceful harbors, can become the sources of suffering and bondage, causing us to stumble on our spiritual path. Buddhism, in its depth, points out, all attachments lead to suffering. This teaching does not deny the importance of familial love or friendship, but serves as a reminder that anything which exceeds its boundaries can become a chain. When we love someone without understanding the impermanent nature of existence, that love can easily turn into clinging. When we become overly attached to a relationship, we unintentionally build barriers that prevent the soul from remaining free. Imagine, if you will, a boat laden with goods, trying to cross a vast river. If the boat is overloaded, it will sink. The relationships in our lives are like the cargo on the boat. If we do not know how to organize and balance them, we will be burdened, depleting our mental and emotional energy. But how can we recognize which relationships should be preserved and which should be let go? Buddhism teaches that the first step is to understand the true nature of a relationship. A healthy relationship is one where both individuals grow, help, and uplift each other on the journey of life. However, if a relationship becomes a source of pain and harm, it no longer serves as a positive attachment. Let me share with you a Buddhist parable. One day, a young monk saw a snake wounded by the roadside. His compassionate heart led him to take the snake and care for it, hoping that it would recover. But despite his careful nurturing, the snake continued to bite the monk, causing him repeated harm. Finally, the monk realized that the nature of the snake was to bite, and by keeping it with him, he was not acting out of compassion but was merely inviting suffering. He decided to return the snake to the wild, allowing both of them to live according to their true nature. Through this story, we see that compassion is not about clinging to unhealthy relationships. Compassion, in the Buddhist sense, also encompasses wisdom and the ability to discern what is right and wrong, to know when to let go. If a relationship causes you pain, anxiety, or hinders personal growth, letting go is not selfishness but an act of love for yourself and for the other person, so they may have the opportunity to reflect and change. One of the core principles in Buddhism is impermanence. Everything in life is constantly changing. No relationship is eternal, even the closest relationships must face change. Children will grow, parents will age, friends may drift apart. The awareness of impermanence does not make us pessimistic, rather, it helps us appreciate the present, to love fully without attachment. However, many people fear change, clinging to what is familiar because they fear losing their sense of security. They forget that this attachment is the root of suffering. The Buddha taught, we do not suffer because of things that happen, but because of the way we perceive them. A broken relationship is not an end, but the beginning of a new chapter in life, where we have the opportunity to learn and grow. The spiritual journey requires the courage to look deeply into oneself and the relationships around us. Some relationships are the karmic causes that help us progress, while others are challenges to teach us how to let go. When faced with such relationships, we should ask ourselves, does this relationship help me grow? Does it bring peace? Or is it pulling me away from the path of enlightenment? Sometimes, letting go is not a sign of failure, but a necessary step to regain balance and inner peace. Just like a fallen leaf making way for a new sprout to grow, letting go creates space for something better to appear. The Buddha taught, live like water, flowing past all obstacles without clinging. Remember, letting go does not mean forgetting or abandoning responsibility. It is an act of wisdom, allowing oneself and others the opportunity to live authentically. Each person's spiritual journey is unique, but the common thread is the pursuit of peace, happiness, and inner freedom. And sometimes, to achieve this, we must have the courage to let go of what no longer serves us, even if it is a relationship that we once cherished. In the journey of life, we often form attachments to relationships, material things, and concepts unconsciously. However, Buddhism teaches that all attachments are the causes of suffering. The Buddha pointed out that only by letting go can the mind truly achieve peace. The following 9 signs are not only reminders but also a guiding compass to help us identify what we need to distance ourselves from, in order to protect the soul and progress on the path to enlightenment. 1. Harmful relationships. ****. A harmful relationship is one where harm appears more often than joy. This not only affects mental health but also disrupts inner peace. Imagine someone planting crops on barren land, where trees cannot grow. They continue to try, thinking that somehow the soil will change. But in reality, this effort only brings exhaustion. Similarly, a relationship that consistently causes harm is no longer love but attachment. The Buddha teaches that compassion must be directed toward oneself, for if we do not love ourselves, how can we love others? 2. Lack of listening. ****. Listening is an expression of empathy and respect. When a relationship lacks listening, it is a sign that the connection has been broken. There is a story in the scriptures where a monk approached the Buddha seeking guidance. But as soon as the Buddha spoke, the monk continuously interrupted him with his own opinions. In the end, the Buddha remained silent. After a while, the monk realized and asked, "Master, why did you stop teaching me?" The Buddha replied, "When your cup is full of opinions, how can I pour more into it?" A relationship without listening is like a cup that is already full, incapable of holding anything more. Sometimes, in order to hear our own voice, we must distance ourselves from those unwilling to open their hearts. 3. Hindering growth ***. Buddhism always encourages individuals to strive for growth, to transcend the self in order to achieve enlightenment. But if a relationship makes you feel stagnant, suppressed, or unable to live authentically, it is a sign that it must be let go. The story of Prince Siddhartha, who later became the Buddha, is a testament to this. He left the palace, where material comfort hindered his spiritual development. By renouncing what blocked his path to enlightenment, he found the ultimate truth. Ask yourself, does this relationship help me grow and progress? Or is it holding me in a place where I no longer belong? 4. Conditional love ***. True love is not an exchange, nor does it demand reciprocation or conditions. When love turns into a transaction, it is no longer love but an attachment. The Buddha teaches that compassionate love is free, not based on possession. Like the sun that shines everywhere, true love brings peace and harms no one. If you feel pressured, forced, or that you must compromise yourself to maintain a relationship, this is a sign that you need to reconsider. 5. Inability to forgive ***. Forgiveness is an essential part of the journey of letting go. But forgiveness does not mean accepting repeated harm. Remember the story of a man carrying a bag full of stones, each stone symbolizing a grudge. When he met the Buddha asked, "Why don't you put the bag of stones down?" The man replied, "I carry them to remind myself not to forget those who have hurt me." The Buddha said, "But you are the one suffering from the weight of the stones." If a relationship does not allow forgiveness and continues the cycle of harm, then severing ties is the only way to protect your self-respect and peace of mind. 6. Loss of trust ***. Trust is the foundation of all relationships. When it is broken, the relationship becomes an illusion, an existence that is not real. The Buddha teaches that truth is the light that shows the way. If you feel that trust has been lost, have the courage to face that truth. Trying to maintain a relationship without trust is like keeping a cracked vase, no matter how hard you try, the water will always leak out. 7. Imbalance of energy ***. Every relationship requires balance, a natural give and take. If you are always the giver, with no reciprocation, you will soon deplete your energy. In the scriptures, the Buddha teaches that when you give with all your heart, but do not forget to keep some for yourself to nourish your own well-being. A relationship that only takes and does not give back is an imbalanced and unhealthy one. 8. Attachment due to guilt ***. Attachment should not be based on guilt or obligation. The Buddha teaches that all actions must arise from compassion and wisdom, not from coercion or social pressure. Ask yourself, am I staying in this relationship out of obligation or because of true love? If the answer is obligation, you need to reconsider in order to free both parties. 9. Affecting inner peace ***. Inner peace is the foundation of a happy life. If a relationship continually brings chaos and anxiety, it is a sign that you need to distance yourself. The Buddha teaches that the mind is like a calm lake. When the lake is still, it reflects everything around it clearly. But if the lake is stirred, it cannot reflect anything clearly. Letting go is not about giving up or avoiding, but an act of compassion for yourself and others. It is a reminder that on the spiritual path, protecting inner peace is how we nurture the seed of enlightenment within us. Letting go, in Buddhist teachings, is not an act of rejection or avoidance of reality. On the contrary, it is an action rooted in wisdom and compassion, which helps us free the mind from unnecessary attachments in order to live a life of peace and ease. The journey of letting go is not an end but the beginning of liberation, opening up a new path filled with light and understanding. Imagine this: you are a gardener standing in a garden full of trees and flowers. Some flowers are blooming, spreading their vibrant fragrance, but there are also tree stumps that have withered and lost all vitality. If you continue to hold on to those withered stumps, your garden will no longer have room for new seeds, for fresh life to sprout. In life, we are often bound by things that no longer bring value. Painful memories, toxic relationships, unrealistic ambitions, all are withered stumps that we unintentionally cling to. The Buddha teaches that life is impermanent, that all things change. Therefore, holding on to the past not only causes harm to ourselves but also hinders the development of our soul. A story from the Dhammapada recounts that a monk always carried a heavy bag on his shoulder while practicing meditation. His fellow monks asked him, "Why do you carry that bag, when it serves no purpose?" The monk replied, "I fear that if I put the bag down, I will forget everything I have gone through." But the Buddha said, "That bag is your burden. You do not forget the past by carrying it, but you are freed from it only when you learn to let go." This story reminds us that letting go does not mean forgetting or denying the past, but choosing to view it with mindfulness and allowing ourselves to move forward. To let go, we must first recognize and understand the reasons we hold on. Buddhism teaches that attachment often arises from craving, tanha, the desire to possess, control, or retain. When these desires are unfulfilled, we fall into suffering. A familiar example is clinging to unhealthy relationships. We fear losing someone, even if they bring more harm than happiness. This fear arises from inner insecurity, from the worry that without this person, we will be alone or lose our worth. The Buddha teaches that in order to overcome attachment, we must cultivate wisdom, panna, to see the true nature of things. All relationships are impermanent, and our self-worth does not depend on others. When we realize this, we gradually let go of unnecessary attachments. The journey of letting go is not an act of bitter rejection, but a mindful and compassionate action. When we let go, we not only liberate ourselves but also others and the things involved. Imagine a bird trapped in a cage. It longs for freedom, but its owner refuses to release it, believing that keeping the bird will bring happiness. But in reality, neither is happy. The bird is imprisoned, and the owner is bound by their own attachment. When the cage door is opened, the bird finds the sky, and the owner finds peace of mind. Buddhism encourages us to practice compassion in the process of letting go. Instead of blaming or harboring resentment, we should view everything with loving kindness. Letting go of a relationship is not rejecting the other person, but creating the space for both to find peace. One of the greatest fears in letting go is the feeling of loss. We fear that by giving something up, we will be empty or lacking. But the Buddha teaches that letting go is not about losing, but about liberation. Remember the story of the traveler carrying a heavy bag. He thought everything in the bag was essential, but as the journey grew longer, his shoulders ached, and his steps became heavy. A friend he met along the way advised him, "Open the bag and only keep what is truly necessary." When he followed the advice, he realized that he didn't need so much. The burden was lifted, and he felt lighter, walking faster. Letting go is like opening that bag. We do not give up everything, but only keep what is truly necessary for our journey. In Buddhism, letting go is not only a life skill but also an essential part of the path to enlightenment. The Buddha renounced his palace, family, and luxurious life to seek the truth. He did not renounce to reject, but because he realized that only by letting go of worldly attachments could the mind be completely free to attain enlightenment. We do not need to renounce the world like the Buddha, but in our daily lives, we can practice letting go by reducing clinging and attachment. Begin with small things. Let go of anger, unrealistic expectations, or toxic relationships. Each time we let go, we take another step on the path to liberation. Like the gardener removing withered stumps, each time we let go, we create space for better things to emerge: peace, wisdom, and compassion. The journey of letting go is not easy, but it is a necessary path to true happiness. Every step on this journey is a step toward inner freedom. Letting go is not the end, but the beginning of new life, a life filled with the light of understanding and love. Like the dawn dispels the night, letting go is an awakening of the soul, helping us find ourselves amidst the turmoil of life. And in the end, only by knowing how to let go, will we truly hold the key to lasting happiness. In Buddhist teachings, compassion, metta and karuna, is regarded as the heart of practice, the root of all virtuous actions and liberation. When combined with wisdom, compassion not only brings peace but also serves as the key to guide us through life's challenges, including the journey of letting go. Letting go is not merely about rejecting or distancing oneself from something, it is an act of love, originating from compassion for oneself and others. It is liberation, not refusal. It opens up a new path for both parties, not only to avoid current suffering but to attain inner peace. When speaking of compassion, many people often think of the tolerance and love we show others, forgetting that we also need to treat ourselves with compassion. The Buddha taught that without learning to love ourselves, we cannot truly love others. In life, many people carry self-blame, feelings of guilt, or pain from the past. They incessantly judge themselves, questioning whether they are worthy of love. This is no different than locking oneself in a cage of their own making, where every judgment is like a bar, preventing the light of compassion from shining through. Look upon yourself with compassion. We are all imperfect beings, and that is only natural. Mistakes are part of the journey of growth, and only by learning to forgive ourselves can we continue forward with ease. Letting go of guilt or self-blame is an act of love towards oneself, freeing the soul from unnecessary burdens. Inner peace cannot be attained if we harbor resentment, blame, or hatred toward others. The Buddha once told a story about a man who carried stones on his shoulders while walking. These stones symbolized the anger and hatred the man carried with him. The further he walked, the more his shoulders ached, and his steps became heavier. But when he realized he could let go of the stones, all the burdens immediately disappeared, and the path ahead became much lighter. Compassion toward others does not mean accepting wrongful actions or allowing others to continue harming us. Rather, compassion is recognizing that all their actions stem from ignorance and suffering. When we understand this, we can forgive without accepting, let go without harboring resentment. A familiar story in Buddhist scriptures tells of the Buddha and an enemy of his. This man repeatedly tried to harm the Buddha, but the Buddha never responded with anger. Instead, he always maintained compassion, understanding that the enemy's actions were rooted in ignorance. In the end, the Buddha's compassion transformed this man, helping him awaken and find the path to liberation. Letting go must be done with a spirit of compassion, not only toward others but also toward ourselves. Letting go is not about severing ties with bitterness or coldness, but an act of love that helps both parties find peace. Imagine you are holding a glass of water. This glass represents the relationships, memories, or emotions you are holding onto. If the glass is too heavy, your hand will grow tired. But rather than discarding the glass, gently place it down. This action not only frees you but also protects the glass from breaking. Similarly, when letting go of a relationship, do so with compassion. Recognize that you both were once important parts of each other's lives, but now, parting ways is necessary for both to grow. When we practice compassion in the act of letting go, we will attain inner peace, a state in which the mind is no longer disturbed by negative emotions. Inner peace is not passivity or avoidance, but a state of wakefulness, where the mind becomes still and clear. Another story from the scriptures tells of a farmer who lost his only cow, the lifeline of his family. At first, he was deeply distressed, but after a while, he realized that this loss forced him to find new solutions to support his family. As a result, he found stable work, and life became better. This story reminds us that letting go is not about loss, but an opportunity to move forward and find something better. Compassion must be paired with wisdom to create the right action of letting go. Without wisdom, compassion can easily slip into pity, or we may continue to accept things that harm us. On the other hand, without compassion, wisdom alone can make letting go cold and lacking empathy. The Buddha taught that wisdom is the light that illuminates the path, while compassion is the strength that moves us forward. When these two qualities are combined, we not only let go of unnecessary attachments but also preserve the good, making life more meaningful. The journey of letting go is the journey of compassion and inner peace. It is not an act of rejection or avoidance, but a loving choice that helps us free ourselves and others from outdated attachments. Like the sun rising after a long night, letting go with compassion is the light that illuminates the soul, bringing us closer to happiness and liberation. Remember, each time we let go, we move one step closer to true freedom and peace. When we speak of letting go, it is not merely about abandoning something. Letting go is a profound action that means liberating oneself from burdens that are no longer necessary, while simultaneously opening the door to new beginnings, bringing greater tranquility. It is how we find our inner freedom and inspire others to live true to themselves. Once, a Zen master shared a story about two travelers. They journeyed together through a dense forest, each carrying a large bag. The first traveler continuously picked up precious stones along the way, but due to his greed, he took everything without distinguishing between true gems and worthless pebbles. The second traveler, on the other hand, was careful, keeping only the brightest jewels and discarding the rest. By the end of the journey, the second traveler gently walked into a radiant garden, while the first traveler, exhausted and unable to continue, found that his bag had become an unbearable burden. Letting go is not an easy act, especially when we have become deeply attached to the things that cause us suffering. But Buddhism teaches that the root of suffering is attachment. Attachment to people, things, emotions, or even beautiful memories can become the source of anxiety and weariness. Consider the relationships in life. There are people who have walked with us for a long time, bringing joy and valuable lessons. But as time passes, changes in life may lead us to walk different paths. If we cling to the past, afraid to lose a part of a beautiful memory, we not only cause ourselves pain but also hinder their progress. Letting go here is not about abandoning love but about freeing both parties to find their own freedom and happiness. A common misunderstanding is to think that letting go means giving up, but this is not the case. Giving up means rejecting, turning away from something, while letting go is an act of wisdom, performed with compassion. For instance, a mother grieves as her children grow up and move away from her embrace. If she clings to the old days, trying to maintain her children's dependence, she will not only pressure them but also cause herself unnecessary suffering. But if she lets go with love and understanding, she will recognize that her children need independence to grow, and this very letting go will bring peace to both. Balance and inner peace do not come naturally, they are the result of practicing mindfulness, self-reflection, and the courage to face change. A practitioner, when confronted with death, is often taught to let go not only of the body but also of unfulfilled desires and unresolved grudges. Why? Because everything in this world is impermanent. No matter how much you cling, in the end, you cannot take it with you. Letting go not only brings lightness to the soul but also opens the door to true freedom. When you are no longer bound by worries, fears, or suffering, you will experience an unparalleled lightness. Think of a bird trapped in a cage. When we open the cage and let it fly, it is not only the bird that is liberated, but also the person who opens the door. Our minds are no longer bound by unnecessary control or responsibilities. The Buddha once said, "Letting go is the path to liberation." This path is not about renouncing the world, but living within the world without being bound by it. He also taught, you cannot walk the path until you become the path. This is a reminder that letting go is not just a simple action, but a state of consciousness. When you let go, you are not only walking the path of liberation but also embodying that path. Letting go is not the end, it is the beginning. When we let go of the old, we make space for the new. When we let go of suffering and hatred, we open our hearts to love and joy. A young person once approached a teacher and asked, "How can I find happiness?" The teacher did not answer immediately but instead filled a cup with water. As the water overflowed, he said, "If you do not pour out the old water, how can you take in the new?" This is the lesson of letting go. To embrace the good, we must bravely release what no longer serves us. Letting go is an art that requires continual practice in life. Each time we let go, we draw closer to true freedom, serenity, and the deeper meaning of life. Remember, letting go is not about abandoning love, it is about finding balance and inner peace. When we live with the practice of letting go, we become a shining example for others to find liberation for themselves. And at that moment, we truly enter a life full of freedom and inner peace. Letting go, in the end, is not an act of coldness or indifference. It is an act of wisdom and deep compassion, both for oneself and for those we have been closely connected with. When we learn to let go, we not only free ourselves from the burdens of suffering, but we also open the door for other beautiful things to enter our lives. Imagine, if you will, standing in a garden. There are trees and blooming flowers, radiating fragrance and vivid colors, while there are also trees that have withered, no longer full of life. As the gardener of your own life, will you continue to hold onto the withered trees, or will you have the courage to uproot them and make room for new shoots to grow? In each choice, there is no right or wrong, only what aligns with your intention at that moment. The Buddha teaches, light your own lamp and walk. When you let go of what no longer serves you, you not only illuminate your own path but also become a light for others. Your actions can inspire others to recognize that sometimes, liberation comes from the very things they are willing to leave behind. In the impermanence of life, remember that letting go is not a loss. It is your way of aligning with the natural flow of the universe, where everything comes and goes like small waves in the vast ocean. Let your heart remain peaceful, welcoming change with serenity, and you will find that when one door closes, another opens. With deep gratitude, we should cherish the relationships that have come and gone, whether good or bad. For every person who has passed through our lives has left behind lessons and experiences that help us grow on the path to enlightenment. And once the lesson is learned, let go gently, allowing both sides the opportunity to find what better suits their own development. Hold on to inner peace like a guiding light, and never forget that you cannot walk the path of enlightenment until you become the path yourself.